Nemona is extremely easy to look at merely as being a comic character. She's a bit ridiculous in her overzealous obsession with battling, and in her obsession with you, the protagonist. There have been so many memes and so many jokes about her. But alongside with all of the silliness, I do believe that there is also this level of respect and appreciation for the character. And it is in that spirit that I am going to look at her. I'm going to look at her seriously, not as the meme version of her, as this weird, super enthusiastic, rather eerie stalker, but as a teenager who is genuinely passionate and genuinely hoping that you do your best, not just for your benefit, but for hers, because she wants you to succeed, because she suffers from a bit of loneliness and a bit of isolation. She cares so deeply about battling. It is her true passion. It is what she has committed herself to throughout her life. And yet, she finds herself so alone. She does not have an excellent amount of social skills by any means, and others view her as quite weird or off-putting. But she is not hiding any dark secrets. She's not secretly some manipulative and scheming person. She is exactly what she appears to be. But she carries a lot more pathos than would be understood just by looking at her character in a superficial way, just looking at how she presents herself to you at first. As the game progresses, there are a lot more of these layers to her character that emerge. There is a greater sense of her fundamental desperation to have someone that she can view as an equal, someone that she can compete with, someone that she can really care about, someone who doesn't run away from her. That's what she wants. And the game, while it views her as a little ridiculous, understands that level of pathos. It treats that level of yearning that pulsates through her with a level of nuance and tenderness that I believe is quite impressive and quite worth looking at. Nemona is different from past rivals, but not in a way that is immediately apparent at first. Pokémon fans who are a bit older, my generation or older than me, often lament the fall of the jerk rival that appears in the first two generations. But if I'm being quite frank, I don't think those characters were particularly interesting. Silver becomes much more interesting in Generation 4, in Heart Gold and Soul Silver, because of a lot of the backstory they give him, really fleshing out his character and his motivations and his tortured, anxious psyche. He's not a great character, but he's interesting. And then Blue has this level of maturity about him by Generation 2, by Gold and Silver, that I also greatly appreciate. In Generation 1, Blue is just a cartoonish jerk. He is just so comically lacking in humility, grace, compassion, or understanding that it is hard to feel anything but resentment toward this petty individual. But he demonstrates that he can change. So I appreciate that about his character, but I don't appreciate the rather narrow, one-dimensional characterization that you get for Blue in Generation 1. But I do understand, to a certain extent, the longing, at least in abstract, to have a more antagonistic rival, because in too many of the more recent games, the rival is not really a rival at all. They don't really evoke any sort of challenge, any sort of tension or anxiety. They're just a friendly kid, and you almost feel bad that you are repeatedly beating them. No matter how enthusiastic they are, no matter how far they believe they've come, you stomp them in Pokemon battles again and again. Generations 7 and 8 are particularly egregious with how they provide these extremely chipper, happy-go-lucky rivals that you almost feel like the bully in fighting. You almost feel like the jerk rival because they have all these extremely impassioned dreams that are a bit unrealistic, and you just constantly make them look like fools for these grandiose dreams. Nemona is a bit different. She has that hyper-enthusiastic energy. She has that intensity of feeling. She has that deep, longing love for Pokemon battles and everything they involve. And yet, she's not competing with you in the way that a lot of these past rivals have. She's, if not quite a mentor, then at least someone who is more experienced than you, someone who wants to help you, someone who is invested in your success. She is a static character in that of the game's secondary characters that interact with you, the protagonist, she is probably the one who goes through the least amount of change, as opposed to Penny or Arven. But nonetheless, she prioritizes dynamism. She prioritizes change. I think of the American psychologist and philosopher William James, who talks eloquently and quite thoughtfully about change as this fundamental principle of existence, not merely as an occurrence that can befall an individual, but as this ambient, ever-present process of transformation and reconfiguration that is always undergoing. I am not the same person now as I was when I started this video. If you look at something out the window and then look back, you are slightly different. Those differences might not be that apparent at first, but they build up over time. And this is what William James is focusing on when he talks about the importance and the omnipresence of change as a fundamental principle for how we experience the world. Nemona, while she is far from a philosopher, has about the same perspective. She is extremely committed to her passion for battling, but she wants to see you change, see you evolve, see you become more competent and more able to battle with her. And she wants new kinds of battle. She seeks out these new experiences. And that is quite inspiring, I think, about her. She's not some wise, saintly character whose every word is portrayed by the game as being something that you should trust and believe in, but she is someone who is deeply committed to exploring whatever possibilities lie before her with a degree of fervor and intensity that is quite a contrast with, say, Penny or the rather gloomy Arven. or with a lot of characters, even in this rather sunny, optimistic world of Pokemon. She has all the energy of Barry, but she's played seriously, or somewhat seriously, instead of just as a joke. Nemona has rich parents. She does not have the same degree of experience in interacting with ordinary people on an everyday basis as the average person does. But this removal from the experiences of the everyday does not make her snobby. It does not make her arrogant. Quite the opposite. It makes her extremely caring and extremely thoughtful. She's not always wise. She's not always mature, but she wants what is best for others, for their good, but also for her own. She recognizes that there are not a lot of people who are as passionate as she is, and that not having people that you can really share that passion with is an alienating experience. It is an experience that probably a lot of Pokemon players can relate to, because Nemona is, in a way, you, the experienced player. Imagine that you are someone who's played these games quite a lot, and now you're trying to get your younger sibling or your romantic partner or just a friend or whoever into these games. You are basically in the same position as Nemona. Maybe a bit overly enthusiastic, maybe a bit socially awkward, but above all, you just have something that you deeply love and you want to share that with others because you care about it so much, and you know that there is all this wonder in it that others should have the opportunity to really experience and to really love as you do. And you also know that if they do catch that passion that you have, if they do come to share it, then you will have something to really relate to them about. Nemona wants not just a friend, although she doesn't have a lot of friends, but someone that she can really indulge her vehement, ardent passions with. She wants to have someone who is as capable as her in battling, as passionate as her about battling. Instead of withdrawing into lamentation about how alone she is, she's proactive, she's extroverted in an awkward way, albeit, but still, she goes out and tries to spread her genuine passion for battling to others. And there's a silliness to that, but there's also a poignancy. That connection between you and her really does matter to her, and the game takes that seriously. So thank you all for watching. If you like what you saw today, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Donate to my Patreon if you can, and you want to see more videos like this. What did you think about Scarlet and Violet? It was interesting to see the initial wave of response to these games being so negative, and then that response just turning around once people actually spend time with these games. There's a lot these games are doing right, and I think that should be celebrated. So anyway, tune in soon for next analysis. We'll be coming soon. Promise you that. Thank you all again. Adios, comrades.